We think differently about wealth. And when I say wealth, it is the ability to keep or increase or grow an income or savings. Some think that they have to work hard, give their all night and day, no complaints, just say yes for all of their lives. Others think they can just live, spend, and everything will work out. Debts can't be big enough, scary enough. Others work for perfection, or they save money, they don't want to make mistakes to secure themselves. They don't spend their money to be prepared for an apocalypse. But here are six signs of wealth or mindsets of financial growth. All right, so number one of the wealth mindsets is independence from limiting beliefs. Beliefs that are untested or passed down can be misleading. For example, a house is a form of wealth for some. Using debt is irresponsible. Staying in one job is the best way to build wealth. But wealth building does not support a tunnel vision. A wealth mindset is free to diverge from the herd or to think differently. Because renting an apartment can be sound, as when income is used for investing in productive assets than buying a house. Debt can be used for investments, such as buying apartment rentals that also pays off the debt. And job hopping can expedite the rise on the corporate ladder. Another belief that works against wealth building is working hard, sacrificing, staying up late, missing someone's birthday for work, tolerating the long hours and stress, thinking rewards are just on the other side of the fence, and punishment is waiting for those who slack. However, the chances of success by working hard is random and therefore unreliable. In spite of our long hours and beaten down body, we may still be overlooked because 100 other employees are just as beaten down. Or worse, we can be fired and still be replaced by robots, for example. It is therefore just luck to be picked from the raffle. When it comes to money, profits can precede compassion. Come to think of it, 8 hours in a day to work for 40 years may not afford a very comfortable retirement or even buy a luxury boat or a mansion. And yet, why are other people making 100 times more? One of the wealth mindsets is that when working hard or hustling, the keys to promotion or success or financial trajectory is handed to the employer. There is this submission to the unending rat race of proving deservingness or worthiness, or the unending questioning if struggle or sacrifice is enough to be seen or to be rewarded or to be made fair. This way, we tragically become at the mercy of our superior or industry for self concept, like a cry for rescue. We submit ourselves to the constant scrutiny of others about our deservingness, and conversely, we scrutinize and resent those who don't work hard. A mindset of wealth, however, is not being a victim with a lot to lament about. For a wealth mindset, work is enriching. It is not accompanied by an inventory of grudges, because the income for hard work can be multiplied For example, working on an app, a book, a manual for a year gets income for decades. Babysitting for an hour can be paid 5 times by putting up a daycare center. Social media contents can get multiple income from ads, views, and sold products. Businesses such as vending machines require less time and energy. Side hustles can be an extension of jobs, such as working as an engineer and opening a hardware shop, or creating a social media content about current project makes income streams more integrated and less exhausting. Let's compare time and income. A $4,000 monthly income from 1 hour of work every day and a 10,000 income from an 8-hour work every day. The 4,000 monthly income is better with a wealth mindset because there's less time for work and it allows other side hustles, allows time and attention for other priorities such as exercise, sleep, relationships, hobbies. Thus, overall better personal and financial assessments and decisions. A wealth mindset is geared towards self loyalty and self care. With finite time and energy, these are efficiently used and made to be paid many times over instead of being sapped unceremoniously. To think that work is inescapably arduous is running on the wrong lane for abundance. An income or a fee seeks to enrich us, not to subjugate us, nor to test how much drain or how much sense of oppression we can endure. Another wealth mindset is being awake. To gain wealth does not require us to dull our minds and hear and see what's happening around us. A wealth mindset is giving ourselves a choice to address concerns. For example, in job interviews, we scrutinize the potential boss, we ask questions about the rate of promotion, wage increase, the work culture during interviews. Wealth does not stand on a pile of money, but on everyday decisions or habits. It does not grow on just hoping or wishing that our bank account would rise on its own or our bosses would magically promote us 5 levels up. It grows out of our decisions to report a mistake, to charge a fee, to do weekly or monthly budgeting, to document transactions, even when we feel shy or when we might look confrontational or too methodical. Because the truth is, we can only be too methodical to those who may just be writing their finances on water or who put too much faith on people to do things right when people actually make mistakes, people forget, or get busy to attend to our concerns. A wealth mindset is not about making ourselves and others too comfortable, too decent to not talk about money until a scam or theft takes place in shady or untested relations. That calls are met with an eternal silence. A wealth mindset is about being the guardians of our own financial direction. There is surveillance that the course is maintained and not left for others to clear the path. It requires to take the driver's seat, the accountability for growth or the decline of our savings or income. It requires our presence. It requires active participation, not to be a bystander or audience in our own financial affairs and relying on fairy tales to make life to be rewarding, but instead to be co-creators of our finances. Another sign of wealth is having a handle on using money for status or image. Spending money for status is a disadvantage to finances. Spending to look good, admirable, on trend, sometimes stress eating, or buying at a price due to the fear of missing out on trend, these are traps. Working hard to be seen prosperous, owning the newest item, saying the words people want to hear, keep us in a loop. Because tomorrow's another day to put up another show of pretty dresses, a fixed smile, or choreographed movements. And this borrowed lifestyle, scripted words, or copied manners are maintained while credit card debts loom like dark shadows in the night, or payments for the month become hit or miss, or unexpected bills are met with terror or helplessness. Splurging after a breakup or a failed exam is also a fast lane to unmanaged finances. Purchasing on a buy now, pay later scheme or maximizing the credit limit that gives a false sense of affordability also are a drain to the wallet. When working for others' attention or reacting to life's unpleasant events, the keys to our finances are also handed to the majestic malls or the well designed stores. There is this submission to clothes in order to belong or to be seen exciting. The desperation for opinions or approval negotiates the financial situation for validation that will be earned again and again and again. Looking good, perpetually happy, having a car, a new gadget that fits the income, yes, but not the budget. This may be used to scrub the feelings of unworthiness in order to finally be good enough for maybe someone to stay or good enough for someone's attention. Because through others' attention, the joy or the promising feeling, the aliveness that we feel is the same joy or aliveness we already have, but we might have shoved to the attics of our beings, perhaps due to some unpleasant experiences. But that joy that we keep working on day by day in order to be seen, in order to be loved, does not have to come outside of us. It is the same joy we can feel even when no one's looking or judging what we have or what we wear, like through expressing ourselves in a craft, a painting, a song, or through authentic connections, or the aliveness that we crave from others to see in us is the same aliveness we can feel by successfully keeping with a budget, by arranging our place that allows light, space, plants, learning materials, yoga for some, and with a good mattress, or the promising image we hope they see about us is something we can have by taking classes for the progress of our career or looking after our physical or mental health. The aliveness we perform in order to be seen is the same aliveness we can have by looking after ourselves, financially or otherwise. What we crave to feel does not have to put us in jail. This way, we can lessen our reliance on others for favorable feelings and redirect them on ourselves, on our creations, our capabilities, or habits of self care. Our desires or happiness, they are good and they can still coexist with financial growth. Parties and fashion are dazzling, but to make a business of event organization or fashion styling strikes two birds with one stone. Love for travel with a hefty price tag can be monetized as a social media content. Love of meeting people belonging to clubs is a way to connect buyers and sellers, or it can lead to product endorsement and commissions. We can also have fun, all the fun that we want, but not to a disadvantage. We can have all the fun we want, but still have boundaries about being toyed by our needs to belong or to be loved. Another sign of wealth is financial authenticity. If wealth is made of castles, gowns, and balls, why are people getting bankrupt, sued? Why are properties foreclosed? And why are people evicted? Because no matter how glamorous a lifestyle is, it is not believable until we see the books. A person may have a brand new car, but may just be sacrificing other priorities while earning minimum wage, or just living off of multiple credit cards. A famous or reputable person may look put together, but may be just promising to pay off today's rent with the next month's project. Or a company in a fancy building with security may not be making enough cash flow, not be increasing its revenues, or may not be investing to keep the company afloat for another year. Or a country may seem to be the land of milk and honey, but maybe borrowing money at record levels or printing money endlessly so as not to lose face in the global economy or to its citizenry. Real economic prosperity, domestic or national, cannot be gained until there is authenticity about the revenues from productivity or income from employment. Being inauthentic is like living in borrowed time until the pretense collapses, because a fake smile eventually aches. Wrinkles cannot be prevented. The notices of foreclosure or eviction do arrive for reckoning. They do, because the monetary system, or the way that money works, is a web of causes and effects. The size of the income or revenue, the advanced or impressive structures do not guarantee wealth. Income alone decreases by inflation. A $100 can buy a dozen of eggs today, and soon after, it can only buy eight because of inflation. Credit cards are charged 220 to 350 out of 1,000 per year in interest. The interest rate in a regular savings account barely keeps up with inflation rate. In a regular savings account, we gain less than 1% but lose 2 to 6% of our of our savings through inflation. We just naturally lose money or the value of it without even spending wildly. What more if we spend? What more if we do? So, how can our income retain its value to buy the same number of items if there is no know how about how to keep it and grow it? The lack of know how, the lack of good decision making is like earning with a basin with a hole. It can never be full until we fix the hole. A sign of wealth mindset is not gullible to the funfair. Wealth is not measured by the external appearances but by the ability to keep and grow money. We may be mesmerized by the show laden with fireworks, champagne, and red carpets, or a huge office, fancy watch, or income, but to trust that these are way beyond the emergency savings investment budget remains to be proven. Wealth is not in the paycheck, but in how the paycheck is saved or grown. A sign of wealth mindset is spending by priorities. For some, monthly expenses take around 60% or less, investments 10% or more. These priorities are automated or directed to accounts. Wants and needs have portions too, but investments grow money like a financial partner that works while we sleep. Budgeting allows free spending without neglect. It is like homework done early to enjoy the weekend. And managed high interest debts, such as credit card debts, are paid in full as soon as possible, even with the savings and with a safety net like 1 month of living expenses, because credit card debts are a big hole to the bucket of income. Any payment forward can be improved, but no improvement can be made if no path is taken. Using cash may just be the best way to spend because the pile of bills visibly leaves the wallet. And hopefully then consciousness about a gallon of milk that just expires, light that is left, late fees are charged, what is squandered comes to awareness. Using cash is just as real as money can be. Improving financial situations cannot start with a lie. Financial authenticity is a sign of wealth. Taking income seriously, admitting to people that we can't afford something right now is not a sign of poverty, but a sign of having priorities or having a budget. And being authentic, in fact, is not only a sign of wealth, but a sign of real connections, not just belonging to a club. Living financially authentically is being released from the cage of societal expectations into the freedom to start living at our own terms, at our own budget, at our own definition of prosperity. Because a prosperous lifestyle can be without a house or car, because the payments are better invested in assets or education or in personal development, which can generate income forever. A wealth mindset still acknowledges the dazzle, but is reminded that these are distractions from the real gold. Authenticity can generate income as well. And this is a huge competitive advantage. For example, releasing social media content, a book, or an app, or a manual showing authenticity, like sharing the behind the scenes of being an actor, a surfer, a wood carver. This generates income. Among all formats, authenticity tends to draw the biggest audience. Amusing oneself or laughing at oneself about simple matters, showing times of sadness, laziness, joy, stress are relatable and inspiring. Not trying to be positive or smart or heroic or just being a mess sometimes is something that people appreciate. Another example is sharing something phenomenological or endemic, like a workday of a staff of a funeral home, describing the scent of lifelessness, the look and the tone of grief, or the kind of sleep experienced after dressing up coffins. Another example is sharing the day to day thoughts about moving from a mansion to a tiny house in the woods. Authenticity that is alchemized into refined art, delectable poetry, invites loyal following. For a business, because image maintenance is a motivation for spending, offering this can be a good idea. But the more scarce and trustworthy the product or the know how are, the better. When it comes to spending, what others do is delaying gratification, buying only after 72 hours. Others, what they do is if there's more than a 25% chance of regret in terms of budget or quality, affordability, maintenance requirement, etc., it's a no buy. If the no buy is a scream and not a whisper, that's a no buy. Or if spending is out of approval, to soothe a wound, it's another no buy. Our needs for approval is our responsibility. It's not the car's job. Easier said than done, but applying this little by little consistently is a way to go. In fact, to some, the cost of living a life is just as low as one fifth of the income. It is having this need for validation under control. And perhaps the funfair is made into everyday interactive sharing, family projects, sports, or mountain hiking. Delaying gratification can feel like a deprivation, but it actually just depletes the unsustainable production of falsehoods. A wealth mindset is geared towards loyalty to one's financial truth. It is geared towards self compassion because falsehood is an exhausting acting job, financially and emotionally. To belong, to be loved, does not have to come with notices of eviction or foreclosure. An income or a paycheck seeks to reveal our shades, our jealousy, our fears, our heartbreak. It seeks to reveal our unedited expression, not the script that wins people over. not the voice of someone famous, but ours that is out of key or out of breath. And from these, we hopefully find tools for creation. Another sign of a wealth mindset is the acceptance of loss, because the resistance to part with money or security does not grow funds. Resistance happens in preserving something or keeping the status quo, such as not leaving a situation due to the fear of loss, fear of uncertainty, fear of losing an image or reputation, or the fear of disappointing people. In practical terms, this is by not quitting a job, not investing, not dropping an obligation or a self imposed burden. Because of the fear of loss, we save every penny, we hoard for an apocalypse, we act only at the right time, right price, or thinking 100 steps ahead. For some, they forego of simple pleasures. They do not rest. They do not mess around because these are the culprits of wealth for them. But sometimes letting go of savings or security of control or pride can be necessary and even healthy. For example, investing money, time, and energy in educating ourselves, in taking advanced courses, mentorship, to elevate our wage or qualifications. This is good. Investing in our health produce long-term results. Our financial possibilities also require our mental and physical fitness to think and decide better. Investing in assets include risks, but not surrendering for a start-up capital does not grow our income. Or sometimes we have to let go of our savings in order to reciprocate generosity, to share our blessings, to contribute to society, to donate for advocacies. We cannot hope to be just the only one who has something in store. Sometimes we have to move out of a situation because what used to satisfy us has become unbearable. It has become so corrosive that to flee is relief, even if it is to wilderness with no map. The refusal to let go of money or surrender to the unknown is giving permission to the corrosive effects of stagnation. It is trading adventures for the reliable and squeaky training wheels. And money or wealth is not meant to suck us dry. Wealth is meant to enrich us. This is not to say there is no danger. But a sign of wealth is not about recklessness, but to use this fear only to orient us. We can still be safe and still let money grow. Like investing in assets at a relatively low price does not expose ourselves to huge losses. Quitting a job with 6 months safety net makes joblessness less scary. Sending an email to a stranger for a proposal with the mentality that emergencies happen, so no reply does not automatically mean a failure. Putting away an emergency fund for any unexpected expense help for a good sleep. Failure, loss can be prepared for, measured, or accounted for. Putting up a business with low capital is another safe way to handle finances. Drop shipping, connecting buyers and sellers through network, Offering coaching such as styling, pet care, crafting are a great way to transition from employment to self employment. Renting out a bedroom, a garage, a backyard for small events uh, does not hurt the wallet. Cleaning services, which need a few buckets and cleaning supplies, do not need huge capital. Keeping the capital or operating expenses small is a great introduction to business cycles and management. For a product or service to offer, because security or the need for certainty is a prime motivation, offering or investing in these kinds of products and services can be a good idea, like food, apartments, security devices, or raw materials, tools, or the know how that are hard to find and trustworthy can turn finances around. In terms of investments or private equities, we can still protect our capital by having high standards before betting, such as buying on at least 75% chance of success, by choosing assets that are scarce, relevant, and reliable in terms of their management of finances, their business model, or the value of their products and services, or by minimizing the potential for loss. Loss is a natural course of life. Markets rise, correct, crash, just as seasons change. To expect something to go on pleasantly forever is a myth. A perfect record with no mistake, no failure is not only impossible but also unsustainable. The pressure, the stress of perfection eat up so much energy that there won't be anything left for other priorities. With perfection, we just burn at both ends. So, taking a leap of faith is always a path waiting to be taken. And we shall be as hungry for adventure as we have starved. Or the adventure of the unknown becomes as great as the dullness of the certain. The more we get trained about risks, the more we are able to push ourselves to find a way to minimize risks. Then fear of loss of money or fear of danger lessens. Eventually, we get less and less fearful. We see obstacles as a challenge more than a jump off of a cliff. Because the terrain, the wind, the hardness of earth have come to rhyme, become less scary, become more predictable, more manageable. Now let's go to the last sign of wealth in terms of loss. So, wealth is not about hoarding or building a bunker, but surviving at first. Survival pushes us to do things we would never think of doing. For example, after quitting a job, surviving forces us to accept another that is beneath our qualification, uh, forces us to exaggerate job experiences, to hide from rental landowners for delayed payments, or hide from creditors for terrifying debts. Survival stains the conscience. We lose our pride, we accept or own up to imperfections, weaknesses, mistakes, to people whom we pray would still stick around. Behind the success of the wealthy are a pile of experiences they are not jumping for joy to admit. It is not an immaculate record of decisions. A wealthy mindset, therefore, is a humble one. A wealth mindset demands the full acceptance of loss of savings, security, pride. It is impossible to be wealthy and not lose a lot at all, at least in the beginning. The full acceptance of possible loss is where wealth begins, because this is where profits are anchored, planned, or structured. Living with uncertainty helps in budgeting, accounting, or tracking money. These are good training for conscious money management because money goes to where it is treated well. Wealth building is about constantly evolving, exploring, making mistakes, and doing things all over again. Surviving may not throw a life vest, but it partners with our commitment to learn from mistakes, to keep away from the deafening walls of stagnation and keep stepping forward. To not lose, to need guarantees, is the enemy of wealth. Keeping money under the mattress alone loses to inflation, so it is either we grow it or allow it to deplete. Money does not keep its value by sitting still. Financial evolution is like being a fugitive, learning to elude more debts, more losses by sharpening the senses, learning the alleys to avoid capture. For example, in starting a business to pay the wages for the month, but days have come by with scary sales, so creative ideas save the day, like offering products in a bundle or putting them on sale. It is going to a battle every day, needing our constant improvement until we figure out what puts us ahead of the game, what could be an edge or what could be a solid foundation for our finances so that it is hard to topple down. This way, muscles are moving, brain faculties are lit, life then takes shape in purpose. These everyday battles are about negotiating gains and losses. Sometimes we need to lose some profits in order to be safe, or to lose a little in order to save the rest. We are forced to tame our greed, our overconfidence, our need to be right, need for lanes to riches, need for control, need to prove our tough shell through crashes and burn, need to be a hero. We go through an internal revolution until we would opt to just improve our finances quietly, opt to relinquish the need for external validation or huge amounts to define our wealth or ability to create it, until we would opt out of squeezing all our strength in us, instead to work towards long-term, steady, sustainable growth. This is where we can mold our skills into expertise. We can build solid habits from random ones. We can build well identified standards for investments from impulsive ones, until we can pave our career intentionally, not with fickleness. And as we pave our way, we lose our savings, we get into debts, time drags. These become the tuition fee for training in the field. Skills are secrets of wealth. Highly developed skills, complex but integrated knowledge are the gold of the wealthy. Skills include communication, decision making, which are trained and enhanced by being a fugitive in a city of traps. But more so are relevant, highly developed skills and integrated knowledge, which are hard to find and worthy of trust or respect. And through all these leaps of faith, it becomes less and less about the money, the accolades, but the courage to assert our ever renovating self into how we run our business or build our career path or invest, or more about the progress than results or outcomes. It becomes less and less about what we might lose, but how we can still sail away with minimal risks. To think that to gain wealth requires danger, it does, but only to pull the rug of complacency from under. Income profits seek to reveal our potentials by breaking us apart and putting us together one piece at a time. In the end, wealth mindsets do not only serve as multipliers of income, but also mirrors to our limited beliefs, to feelings of inadequacy, and fears of uncertainty. Wealth demands our highest potentials by challenging beliefs, challenging our need for validation, or challenging our need for guarantees that are in the way of our magnificence. Conversely, wealth complicates the followers of fairy tales, the addicts for status, and the perfectionists. We cannot out earn financial disempowerment, negligence, and intolerance for risks.